Have you ever stood by a window watching the rain fall and felt a sudden quiet ache in your chest? A longing for a place you cannot name and perhaps have never even visited? It is a strange and tender experience, isn't it, to be sitting comfortably in your own living room, perhaps surrounded by the things you own and the people you know best. And yet, in the silence between thoughts, you feel a subtle magnetic pull toward somewhere else. Somewhere that feels more like home than the ground beneath your feet. If you have ever felt this phantom homesickness, this yearning for a sanctuary that doesn't seem to exist on any map, I want you to know that you are not strange, you are not ungrateful for the life you have, and you are certainly not alone. Welcome to this quiet space where we can sit with this feeling together, not to analyze it or fix it, but simply to understand why it visits us. It is a curious thing to miss a memory you never had or to crave a return to a time before you were born. And this is often where the feeling becomes difficult to describe to others, because how do you explain that you are homesick for a feeling rather than a location? There is a word in the Welsh language that wraps its arms around this specific emotion, a word that has no direct translation in English, but resonates deeply with anyone who has felt that spiritual tug, and that word is Hiraeth. While dictionary definitions might call it homesickness or nostalgia, those words feel too small, too flat to contain the sheer depth of what Hiraeth truly is. Because Hiraeth is not just missing a house or a town, it is a longing for a spirit, a time, an era, or a version of yourself that has been lost or perhaps never was. It is the echo of a song you've never heard but somehow know the words to. And as we explore this together, you might find that this feeling isn't actually about geography at all, but about something much deeper within the architecture of who you are. Many people notice this feeling arrives unannounced, often riding on the back of a sensory experience like the smell of old paper in a library. The way the light hits the trees during the golden hour just before sunset, or the sound of a distant train whistle in the night, captures you in a moment of stillness, and suddenly you are struck by the sense that there is a place where you belong completely. A place where you are fully understood and fully at rest, but you simply cannot remember the way back to it. This is the part that is hardest to explain to those who haven't felt it, because it sounds almost like a dream, but it feels more real than the chair you are sitting in. It is common to wonder if this feeling comes from a childhood memory that has been blurred by time, perhaps a simpler day you can almost touch but never quite grasp. We often look backward trying to find the source, thinking that if we could just identify the specific memory we could resolve the ache. But Hiraeth is tricky because it often points to a past that never actually happened. It is a nostalgia for the way we wish things had been, a longing for a world that is softer, kinder, and more magical than the one we navigate daily. Some describe it as mourning a lost connection to nature or to a community that feels ancient and tribal. A sense that we have drifted far away from a campfire we were meant to sit around. This doesn't mean you are unhappy with your modern life, it simply means that part of your human spirit remembers or imagines a different way of being. A way that feels more aligned with your soul's rhythm. And here is where the feeling deepens, because this homesickness isn't always about the past, sometimes it is a homesickness for the future. Have you ever imagined a life you haven't lived yet, a version of yourself living in a cottage by the sea or in a bustling city apartment? Or walking through a quiet forest and felt a pang of loss for that unlived life? That too is a form of this longing. It is the recognition of all the other paths you could have taken, all the other people you could have been, and the beautiful tragic realization that we can only live one life at a time. We carry these ghost lives within us, these shadows of what could be, and sometimes we miss them as if they were real. It is a testament to the power of the human imagination that we can love places we have never seen and miss people we have never met. Music is often a powerful trigger for this emotion, and you might have found yourself listening to a piece of instrumental music or an old folk song, and felt tears welling up, not because of sadness exactly, but because the melody touched that raw, tender spot of longing. It feels like the music is speaking a language your soul understands fluently, even if your mind cannot translate it. In those moments, the walls between you and that undefined home feel very thin, as if you could almost step through the notes and find yourself there. This sensitivity to beauty and this capacity to feel such deep resonance is not a flaw, it is a gift, even if it feels heavy at times. It suggests that you are tuned into the subtle frequencies of the world, that you are looking for meaning and connection that goes beyond the surface level of the daily grind. Many people find that this feeling of Hiraeth is strongest when they are in transition, when one chapter of life is closing and another is beginning. In the uncertainty of change, we often crave a grounding point, a place of absolute safety and belonging. And when we cannot find that perfectly in the external world, we turn inward, searching for it in the landscape of our feelings. It is important to be gentle with yourself when this mood strikes, because it can be easy to misinterpret it as a sign that something is wrong with your life. You might look around at your home, your family, or your career and wonder why you still feel this tug of emptiness. Why you still feel like a traveler who hasn't quite unpacked their bags. But feeling homesick for the non-existent doesn't mean you don't love your reality, it simply means your reality is not the entirety of who you are. We are vast creatures filled with contradictions and layers, and it is entirely possible to be happy and grateful while simultaneously carrying a quiet grief for a place that feels just out of reach. It is a bittersweet emotion, a blend of joy and sorrow that the Japanese might call mono no aware, a sensitivity to the transience of things. We see the beauty of a flower falling or the changing of the seasons, and we feel the passage of time. And in that passage we sense the distance between where we are and that eternal timeless place we long for. And here is a thought that might offer some comfort. What if this feeling is not meant to be resolved? What if the point of Hiraeth is not to find the place and settle down, but to keep the longing alive, because it is the longing itself that keeps us searching, creating, and connecting. Think about the art, the poetry, and the stories that move you the most. Chances are they were created by people who felt this exact same ache. They took their homesickness for the invisible and turned it into something visible, attempting to build a bridge back to that lost land. When you feel this way, you are joining a long lineage of dreamers and feelers who have walked this earth looking at the stars and feeling a kinship with the distance. It is a shared human condition, a reminder that we are not just biological machines designed to eat and sleep, but spiritual beings seeking resonance. Some find that simply acknowledging the feeling without trying to push it away changes its texture. Instead of a sharp pain, it becomes a warm companion, a reminder of your own depth. You might sit with a cup of tea and let the feeling wash over you, letting yourself imagine that perfect home in vivid detail. The way the floorboards creak, the way the light spills across the table, the feeling of total safety. In doing so, you are visiting that place in the only way that truly matters, in the sanctuary of your own mind. It is captivating to consider that perhaps the place you are missing is not a physical location at all, but a state of being. Perhaps home, in this sense, is a state of total wholeness where you are not fragmented by worry or regret or expectation. When we feel Hiraeth, we might actually be missing our own true selves, the unburdened version of us that exists beneath the layers of stress and responsibility. We catch glimpses of this self in moments of pure flow or deep laughter or profound silence, and when the moment passes, we miss it. We say we miss a place, but we really miss the feeling of being one with ourselves. As we move through the quieter seasons of our lives, this longing can become more pronounced as the noise of the world softens and we are left with the echo of our own thoughts. It is okay to sit in that echo. It is okay to look at a photograph of a landscape you have never visited and feel a lump in your throat. It is okay to feel that you belong somewhere else entirely. This doesn't make you ungrounded, it makes you expansive. It means your heart is wide enough to encompass worlds that do not yet exist. And this brings us to a gentle realization that might shift how you carry this feeling moving forward. If the place you are homesick for cannot be found on a map, perhaps that is because you are not meant to go to it, you are meant to carry it. Perhaps this home is a portable sanctuary built from your memories, your hopes, your values, and your imagination. Every time you show kindness, every time you create something beautiful, every time you offer a safe space to another person, you are manifesting a little piece of that invisible home right here in the physical world. You are bringing the place you miss into existence one moment at a time. The ache of Hiraeth reminds us that we are capable of imagining better, softer, and more beautiful worlds, and that imagination is the first step in creating them. So the next time this feeling washes over you, when the twilight settles or a certain song plays, try not to rush to distract yourself. Do not feel you need to cure it. Instead, treat it as an old friend stopping by for a visit. Sit with it. Listen to what it tells you about what you love and what you value. Let it remind you that you are deep and complex, and that it is a beautiful thing to long for more than what is right in front of you. You are a traveler, and the longing is your compass, not pointing to a place north or south, but pointing inward to the vast and beautiful terrain of your own spirit. Thank you for spending this quiet time here exploring the geography of the heart. If this reflection resonated with you and you felt seen in these words, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for being here.